This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Now, do not text us today because we're not live, but you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website.
Hello,
good morning,
boys.
everyone.
Morning.
Is that what was that what the Super Bra advert used to say? Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
The Wonder Bra. I like Super Bra though. That,
Was
is
it
that
Super?
What,
Maybe Super Bra was
that's
some
what
sort of
Superman wears to keep
what,
his
Super
pecs.
Girl.
Yeah. Yes, Ava Herzegovina, Frank, who you met once, didn't you?
I didn't meet her. I got close enough to be overawed.
Okay.
But, yeah. Whatever happened to her? What do you think she's doing now? At this precise moment, Saturday morning, Ava Herzegovina. I don't imagine she's an early riser, do you? Or does her have a personal trainer blasting their horn outside the beach house at 6 a.m?
Oh, she'll be juicing. She'll be juicing with an
You think
oligarch.
so? Yeah. I think
Juicing with an
she's-
oligarch.
I think she's frying 5 eggs in lard. I
No,
think.
not. That's Heaver Herzegovina. Heaver. The well-known
one.
hangover sufferer.
Oh, sorry, I got the wrong. Yeah, my mistake.
What did you go for? If anyone listening has got a better idea of what Ava Herzegovina is doing at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, you can't text us direct, but I'd love, we can read it out next week at the same time. I would have thought her Saturday mornings were relatively uniform. She's got the cold ice maiden look of someone who's super efficient, wouldn't you say?
Well, my last sighting of her was as a diamond ambassador.
Diamond ambassador.
I mean, it comes to us all in later life, that role. But
I have to say the term ambassador is, during my lifetime, has dwindled, shrunk and been trodden into the dirt. You know, I remember Jerry Halliwell, God bless her, was a ambassador and stuff like that.
yes.
There's ambassadors of all sorts of strange things.
Yeah.
Anyway, if good old Ava, take care of yourself.
I've actually, I've got a sheet of paper here for careers to replace the live comedy income that I used to have, and I'm just going to cross Diamond Ambassador off it now.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, I think. I would like to think that she had to carry a small black velvet string tie bag.
I think
with
that's
just
all
a
she had to
handful.
do.
Yeah.
That was her dinner in there.
Oh, that's... No, I think she keeps her dinner in an incense burner, and she just inhales root vegetable dust.
Yeah.
I don't know. She might be a big un nowadays.
Could be.
I doubt it. So we were talking. I thought of you this week, Emily Dean, when you were talking about how you felt that your I must say, very, very high standards in dress had somewhat relaxed during lockdown. You remember lockdown?
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed this week that I had, not just a shirt, I had a suit. I had I was wearing at one point a John Bishop's Week of Hell suit. John Bishop's Week of Hell was a thing that happened on Sport Relief, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was not directly involved, but they asked me if I'd run with John Bishop as part of it, and I ran, I think, 7 miles with him. To be honest, they'd beaten the enthusiasm out of him with rowing and all sorts of things. So he was leading a fairly sluggish pace, which I found it easy to keep up with. But what the nice thing was, they gave me loads of really quite nice sportswear, tracksuits and stuff. But all of it, sadly, was emblazoned with John Bishop's Week of Hell. And so I'll be honest, I don't really wear it that much. But since I've been in a lot, I was actually wearing both trousers and sports trousers and the top with John Bishop's Week of Hell on. And I thought, no. I mean, God bless, he's a lovely man and that, but I'm sure he doesn't want to wear stuff with my name on. And I just thought, no, it's this far and no further, was what I thought.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Yeah, I was talking about John Bishop's Week of Hell, which was a thing that happened, I think, on Sport Relief maybe 5 years ago, something like that. And I've got so much merch from me. Some of it just says Bishop's Week of Hell, and I try to sell it off as a religious thing.
Yeah, that
Was
would
that
work.
Thomas
sort of a
A's
dark
Week?
night of the soul. I got this when I took part in St John of the Cross's Sport Relief thing.
Well, I tell you, Frank, murder in the cathedral, that was a bad week,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
But it made me think about. I don't wear anything that's got me on. Over the years, I've been sent
Oh, how humble of you.
T-shirts with me on,
Yeah,
and
very
I
feet on the
can't.
ground.
I can't walk around with. I mean, there was one tour. Every tour I did, I would have a conversation with my management where they'd say, "Are we going to do merchandise?" And I always said, "Look, the people who like me are not very merchandisey people." And one
Why do you say that,
year,
Frank?
because I just don't think they could be bothered when they
Yeah.
could be spending that on drink.
Know your crowd.
Yeah, they've come to see me. If they've paid for a ticket, I don't expect them to get, a bottle opener with me on. Anyway, one year we were offered such a good deal by this merchandise company that I agreed to it, and I still have a large box of that merchandise, including a sort of a slightly space age, high fashion tunic with my name on. With
When you say
Frank
high
Skinner Live.
fashion, when you say
Well,
high
high
fashion, Frank.
When I say high fashion, it's the sort of thing that if you're watching a sci-fi show, the main people wouldn't wear it. But when they spoke to members of the crew, they'd be having it. It had that sort of black nylon-y, zippy type feel
Yes.
to it.
You've got Frank Skinner merch at home.
Yeah, well,
Any-
we had to do something with it at the end of the tour.
Any
the
in
man-
XL?
The man who actually owned the merchandise company, I bumped into in the street, and he said, I've got like 500 of those mugs that we had made with one of your disgusting jokes on it. So I said to everyone, no, my crowd don't buy merchandise. But anyway, I've got it, but I can't wear it. I wear John Bishop's merchandise at a push, but I can't wear my own. If anyone owns any Frank Skinner merchandise, please let us know, by the way. I'd love to know if there's any still out there.
Official,
never
please.
Yeah, official,
Okay.
yeah. Of
And
course.
when you wear John Bishop running kit, do you have to move diagonally or?
Oh, very fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very
Do you,
fine.
I remember, because you came over a bit funny, Frank, when you saw John
Yeah.
Bishop in a towel. Do you remember?
Did you?
In the hotel room. Well, I remember
yeah.
you saying he was like a Norse god.
He
Is this
was.
more
He's very.
agape that you have.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't so much. It was much more physical than
Just
that.
primal lust.
Yeah, he did. He looked very chiseled all over the place.
Yeah, I think he
And,
works out.
Yeah, no, he did, and he was in the middle of a week of hell, so he looked pretty good. Anyway, I love a bit of free merch, especially if it's coming from a major charity. That makes it a bit sweeter to the wearing. Let's put it that way. It gives it a little frisson of naughtiness.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So I got a text message from the popular broadcaster Jonathan Ross
Oh.
this week.
Did you?
tipping me off that there was an auction of George Formby memorabilia. Do you say the L in memorabilia? I'm never sure.
How do you say it, Al?
Memorabilia.
Memorabilia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you say the L.
Okay. And so I investigated, and there was the usual couple of very nice ukuleles of the banjolele variety for sale, and some other stuff. And anyway, I decided that I haven't shopped much just lately, as you can imagine. Certainly not in shops. And I thought, I'm going in. I'm going in on the George Formby. Oh, yeah. There was something which I thought brought together two of my passions, and I thought, well, this is a double whammy. I can't resist this. So anyway, to cut a long story short, which is something I don't often do on this show, let's face it.
Something I've never done my whole life.
I ended up buying the Book of Common Prayer, which was owned by George Formby and signed in the back, "Yours in faith, George Formby."
Oh, really?
You bought it, Frank?
I bought it. It's mine.
Oh, well, this is... This calls for a jingle or a celebration of some sort.
Well, oh, Susan, beware of the devil. Don't let him spoil your heart. Sorry, that's the only jingle we have at the moment, guys, is the live jingle of Dandy Livingstone's Susan, beware of the devil. I've found that it's a jack of all trades and a master of none, but it's stood us in good stead. So, yeah, I was very excited about it. It's accompanied by a programme to a 1913 event, which was attended by, amongst other luminaries, Princess Victoria.
Wow.
And it included George Formby's dad was on the bill, which that was on there as well.
Big star.
Oh, did he do a bit of a Robbie Williams, George Formby's dad? Robbie Williams' dad?
No, he was first. He was a massive star, George Formby's
was he?
dad.
Okay. Well, so was Robbie's, to be fair. He was a singer, wasn't he?
I know, but I'm on about, like, he was big time, George Formby. They call him George Formby Senior now, which must be infuriating if he has an afterlife awareness of any kind. Yeah, that's awful. Look, one thing I'd like to ask you, guys, is where are we now in lockdown? Because I keep hearing from people who are saying, yeah, we're going to go up to Yorkshire for the half term. And
oh dear!
Can we do that? Is that acceptable? I start to feel like a bad dad because I'm still sort of observing lockdown.
I'm just going to check my contract and see if I'm meant to answer questions like this on the radio. I'm not sure it's my role.
Okay.
We don't have our lecterns and our sort of little ticker tape saying stay alert.
My main problem is that I'm getting lockdown withdrawal. I miss lockdown.
A proper lockdown that you
I don't like to see
about.
it's like when people cut cocaine with self-raising flour.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do lockdown, let's do it. Pure, absolutely pure. I want the full hit of lockdown. I want lockdown. That's what I want. And this lockdown light is not for Frank.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I think we've reached that time in the show where I ask if we've heard from the outside world.
Yeah, I'd like to share something with you, Frank. We've had something in from someone who describes themselves as a long-time reader, first-time contributor. I'd like to share it with you boys. It's with reference to a story you told last week about a surprise. It says, "Dear Doctor Who, Dr. Miyagi and Dr. Versace. I am Frank's brother-in-law. And last week, he complained bitterly about about the surprise of his birthday greeting being ruined by the fact that we were waiting on the doorstep. Do you want to quickly recap, Frank, for
He did,
readers who
though.
might not have heard?
I had my idea to go. It was Kat's sister's birthday, and obviously we haven't really seen them in the flesh because of the current situation. And I said, let's drive up there. She only lives like 5 miles away, less maybe. And I said, we'll have a handwritten sign. One of us will hold Happy, the other one birthday. And then Buzz, my child, can hold Auntie Rachel. We'll stand outside the window, get their attention. It'll be a lovely surprise. So as we set off, my partner said, well, I've phoned her and told her we're on the way. And I was slightly outraged.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'll continue. Jack continues, I should say.
this is my
I'm-
brother-in-law, Jack. Yeah.
I'm also a sometime scriptwriter. I mean, he's playing
Yes.
it down rather there.
Yeah.
He is a bit, but still.
And I just wanted to posit as an idea, the idea that the surprise was lost, but in its place came suspense. And suspense can be just as valuable. To do so, I have to quote Hitchcock at length. Apologies in advance, but I think it's a really good quote.
Hold on, let me give you a lead into this, right?
Okay.
There
is a distinct difference. I can't do a Hitchcock voice, but anyway.
It's okay.
There is a distinct difference, Hitchcock says, between suspense and surprise. And yet many pictures continually confuse the two. I'll explain what I mean. We are now having a very innocent little chat. Let's suppose that there is a bomb underneath the table between us. Nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's an explosion. The public is surprised, but prior to this surprise, it has seen an absolutely ordinary scene of no special consequence. Now, let us take a suspense situation. The bomb is underneath the table, and the public knows it, probably because they've seen the anarchist place it there. The public is aware the bomb is going to explode at 1 o'clock, and there's a clock in the decor. The public can see that it is 1:45. In these conditions, the same innocuous conversation becomes fascinating because the public is participating in the scene. The audience is longing to warn the characters on the screen, you shouldn't be talking about such trivial matters. There's a bomb beneath you about to explode. In the first case, we've given the public 15 seconds of surprise at the moment of the explosion. In the second, we've provided them with 15 minutes of suspense. The conclusion is that wherever possible, the public must be informed, except when the surprise is a twist. That is when the unexpected ending is in itself the highlight of the story. Jack ends. Obviously, Hitchcock is responsible for the greatest surprise in movie history with the psycho twist, but I would argue this is really sound stuff, and I would argue that knowing Frank, Kath and Buzz were about to turn up on our doorstep with happy birthday signs actually held us in suspense all day. And the reason why we were waiting on the doorstep was because we were excited to see them, and it proved the highlight of Rachel's day. And the cake you refused was later eaten. End of message.
Wow. Well, I have much to say on this. The first thing is if he thinks that's the biggest film twist of all time, he never saw The Crying Game.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I'd like to return, if I may, to my brother-in-law's explanation of why the birthday surprise shouldn't have been a surprise. If you missed the last link, I'll try and fill you in on the way. My brother-in-law, I should say, is quite a major writer of films and telly and plays, so I obviously have to bow somewhat to his opinion on this. But as you know, I don't really bow very much to the opinion of anyone on anything.
I think we all gleaned that from the tone on somewhat, didn't we?
Yes. You see, this idea of I take the whole point of suspense. I think what I was thinking of but by surprising Rachel with the birthday thing was, I suppose, I was thinking about my theatrical legacy. In that I think
Peter Ustinov.
because I think it's after the surprise that the real joy of it comes. Because you look back then and think, oh God, remember that time we were just sitting around and then we heard that tap at the window, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. Whereas the suspense ramp, I think at the time is great, but I don't know if you really. Do we go back to to Psycho and remember those lead-up passages. We remember the moments, I think. I think Hitchcock himself said, if you can come up with 5 good moments, you've got a movie. Anyway, what else?
Or you could just say, great email, Jack.
It is a great email.
Thank you.
I'm not arguing with that.
I feel like you and Jack could have had this spat on WhatsApp rather than...
We could have done it on phone. By the way, Jack has a Netflix series at the moment called The Eddy, which is a sort of a gritty, moving, musical Paris jazz club feel. Check it out.
Oh, okay.
So, my son, he's homeschooling, and he has to start the day with a Zoom meeting, form meeting. And on a Friday, they do jokes.
Oh, God.
And it's week 5 now. He breaks up today, but there was so he's running out. He's used a lot of his best material. You know what it's like, Al, week 5.
Oh, do I ever?
Yeah, and
I think I'm about 8 years into being on this show.
Anyone who's ever listened to the last episode of any Radio 4 comedy show will know that material doesn't stretch forever. Anyway, today...
Do you get involved in that, Frank, ever, with the joke?
Well, I did today, because he could not think of a joke at all. And I said, look, here's one. And I wrote one. I sat and I wrote one over breakfast. In between...
I want to hear it.
In between Joe Wicks and my All-Brown. And I said, here's the joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? I said, and he said, why is it? And I said, well, everyone will guess to get to the other side. And when you say no, it'll really confuse them. And then I think the punchline should be, it was social distancing.
Lovely.
I thought, but a topical. There's not enough topical in the kids' jokes.
That's true.
Anyway, so he went on, and there was a few jokes banging around, and then it came to Bozzy's moment, and he said, why did the chicken cross the road? And I realised it's not as well known a joke amongst 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it got quite a laugh on To Get to the Other Side. And by then, mine was felt like a terrible After the Lord Mayor's Show. So never work with children and animals, I think they say. And it's sound words.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Please don't text the show today because we're not live, but you can contact us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us through the Absolute Radio website. I just did that whole bit without reading it from anywhere. It's the first time I've done that in 11 years.
Well done, you.
I'm amazed that it's stuck. I only say it every week, 3 times. It's amazing what it does.
Many people are getting better at things during lockdown, and that's your triumph.
Well, I, of course, because I'm doing homeschooling, I've had a complete revision course on all sorts of things. There's some things that stock, photosynthesis and chlorophyll.
Yes.
That came up, and I thought, I'll leave this to me if you need any help with this. I remember this. I remember it absolutely distinctly.
Really?
Trapezium,
Yes.
Trapezium.
vertices, and
and
Carol.
vertices.
We're going to do some Carol diagrams today. Well,
Is Buzz doing a degree? I thought he was...
he's doing a degree in applied mathematics. Didn't I tell you that? Carol diagrams.
It's high level at the posh schools, isn't it?
I'm going to have to make this slightly literary, obviously, try and rescue myself because maths is so out of my reach. Carol diagrams are a sort of a Venn diagram thing in the same school as in the same Venn diagram, I suppose, as the Venn diagram. And they were invented by Lewis Carroll.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Big math.
It would also, I think, be a great name for a burlesque dancer.
But also, Frank,
Carol
I would
diagrams.
say...
Oh, I see. I thought you meant Lewis Carroll. I was thinking, why?
No, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. It wasn't that good a name for Lewis Carroll. I prefer Charles Dodgson.
You probably called it our carol diagram, didn't you? From your neck of the woods.
Yes. So, yeah, it's interesting what you remember from school and what you don't. Like osmosis has stopped with me, but many things have gone. It was the phrase "semi-permeable membrane" that I love so much. That did feel like a line of poetry. I watched. Did you watch the? I don't know what you'd call it. Not replacement sounds harsh, but I want to use that word. The replacement for the Eurovision Song Contest.
No, I didn't. Did you see that, Al? I think I know the answer already.
I didn't know that it had been replaced. What happened?
Yeah, well, of course it can't happen because it's it is a big live thing, and people would get stuff. But they had it on anyway, and it was. I know these are difficult times, but if I see anybody else on telly in their own home, I think I might just go out my house and keep walking.
Are you fed up of seeing millionaires from their kitchen islands singing?
Skype picture standard, sound standard, people sitting in their own homes with no makeup on. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. I'd rather telly was rested completely.
Yes.
Just put the test card on.
Please.
Oh, I love that test card, Al.
I miss the test card.
Anyway, what they did, they had a lot of very moving messages from people who would have been in this year's competition, which left me, I have to say, completely unmoved.
Oh, dear.
And then they had a series of people recreating great moments from Eurovision. So, like, two big men with beards being Lulu and stuff like that. And that actually made me really emotional and quite teary. I think because that is what Eurovision is about. And I thought it's just a shame that is not happening and that all the parties aren't happening. Because I find generally people who are into Eurovision are generally people I like. And it's interesting that was what moved me. But people saying, the world is a tough place at the moment. I thought, I've heard that now. Shut up.
Well, I do recommend checking out the Icelandic entry. It's an absolute banger.
I love the Icelandic and the Russian entry.
Well, of course you like the Russian entry.
The Russian entry was... If only I had the Russian national anthem, I'd play it at this moment. But needs must... Oh, Suzanne, beware of the devil. Don't let him spoil your heart. I bet Putin would be in tears if he heard that.
Oh, yeah, he'd be moved.
He won't be moved. That's his whole thing.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I should say that during our mid-link conversation, just going back to my brother-in-law's point about suspense versus surprise earlier in the show, that Emily pointed out very sagely, as ever, that I was completely surprised by my brother-in-law Jack writing in a long, detailed email. And it went really, really, I really enjoyed it and it was great. And I'll always remember that email coming in. So another vote for surprise over suspense there. Thank you, Emily. And what else? The outside world. I'm sure we've only scratched the surface.
Do you know, that's very odd. As you were saying that, you can't see this, but my dog started scratching the table leg. So you're in sympathy. We've had some... We've had so many reader contributions, and we do love hearing them. I'd like to share with you Laura Long on Twitter, Frank. Just wanted you to know, I saw an elderly gent in Tesco wearing a brown leather face mask this week, and it reminded me of your lovely Christmas hat, Frank.
There's a lot in that, isn't there? Because, first of all, I realised that the only hat I look good in is those crowns that you get in Christmas crackers. And I talked about this on the show, and someone made me a leather one. I said I was going to get a leather one, and someone made it, and I still wear it every Christmas. But a brown leather face mask. This is someone who I might know personally. I'm thinking, this bloke. I mean, I think we are, as it becomes apparent that we are going to have to wear masks for a while, yeah. I think there is going to be more individuality and more idiosyncratic masking. And brown leather is a great place to start.
It's unlikely to get more idiosyncratic than that meme that went around of the Spanish guy with a shoe tied to his face quite early on in the lockdown.
Yeah, it's very handy though if you're going to make some sort of Middle Eastern protest. Remember the man hitting the fallen Saddam Hussein statue with a flip-flop?
Yes.
Well, one of the great moments in modern history, I thought.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I might take the back off or take the bottom off a tortoise carapace.
Oh, yeah.
And wear that.
I'm sure that'll look attractive.
Yeah, I think so.
Would you use
Sorry,
the
carry
legs? Would you use the legs?
Oh, no,
I'd
I'd hollow it out first.
Oh, good for you.
I think you'd blow it like an ostrich egg.
We've also had an email regarding plastic surgery. I think you mooted that Vladimir Putin had perhaps not had the best plastic surgery known to the Western world. And we've had an email, maybe Russia is a bit behind the West, and when they wheeled Putin into the theatre, they held up some shapes and said, "And what are you wanting? We have a nice octagonal." And he obviously preferred the circle. He says, "Please don't give out many of my details for obvious reasons."
Yes. Oh. Well, we're all walking on thin ice here. I think my point was that his face, the point Bob's making it, his face became much round. He's one of the few people who who did go for the circular face. I think he was working towards the sort of smiley face from way back that ravers used to wear. But he wears it with a scowl. It's a bit different. But yeah, I hadn't thought. I mean, I don't know. I'd never think of Russia. I thought Russia's caught up now. They don't queue for parsnips and stuff anymore. I imagine that plastic surgery was up there with it, but I could be wrong. He doesn't look bad. He just looks like a different bloke.
Well rescued.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I have a news story that I'd like to bring to your attention. There's as the newspapers have it, a rookie policeman. Yeah, you heard.
What else? Is there any other profession that you get rookie?
Oh, that in normal circumstances, that would be a fun text in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if only.
We'll just do it sort of on a slow version. You know, like those slow cooking people. We'll do slow text-ins. Just email it.
No, is this thought? I'm getting rookie reporter.
I was just going to say, Frank, that feels quite Citizen Kane, doesn't it?
But yeah, I think it might be a bit more like Jimmy Olsen than a real what you get in a newspaper report.
Yes.
But Jimmy Olsen, I don't feel has had his full share of the limelight in the superhero renaissance that has come in recent years. Jimmy Olsen. He was a cub reporter that worked at the Daily Planet, big friends with Clark Kent and Lois Lane, but brave in his own right.
Of course.
But you think he would have at least a Sky One series, but no, nothing.
Often you can't second guess the powers that be in what they commission and what they don't, can you?
No, but it does make you wonder if the anti-ginger thing is still there, though it's not spoken of.
It might be the anti-reporter thing.
Maybe.
You know.
Anyway, this rookie policeman has been banned from the job for life after stealing 7 fry-ups from the canteen in his first week.
Oh, yes.
Most British story ever.
It's got everything,
fry-ups and a rookie copper.
There's a lot in there. For a start, it means that in his first week he did 7 consecutive days, or he stole 2 fry-ups on 2 days.
Oh, yeah? That he wouldn't have stole 2 fry-ups, surely.
Well, I don't know what he would and wouldn't do, this chap.
Do cafes still have that? You live in the north.
I do.
Al. Do cafes still have that thing of breakfasts that are so big that if you can eat them, they're free? Used to be a thing that used to get. They used to have a He-Man breakfast in a cafe near where I lived in the West Midlands.
the belly buster and stuff
anyone
like that.
who could eat it all, it was theirs.
Yeah.
They didn't have to pay for it, which is a
You're
weird.
rewarding the obesity.
Yeah, but it's got a sort of a. If you actually try and follow the logic of that, it's tricky. But there was I had a friend who Big Dave who did it. Yeah, it had like 6 pieces of fried bread with it.
Yeah,
Which
even that
is,
would be a breakfast for some people.
I tell you what, I miss fried bread. Yeah, Ava Herzegovina, that'd last her a fortnight.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think she's a fan of the lard and the eggs. Anyway,
Well,
She's
you might be
She'd
right.
feed off that for weeks like a snake.
I'd like to see that. Yeah, she'd live on it like bacteria.
Go on, Al.
Anyway.
So tell us more about the rookie copper and the fry-ups.
well, he thought he was in the right because he lived just outside of the zone where he would have to pay it if he lived just in. If basically you get the free breakfast if you live 20 miles or more away, and I think he didn't quite live far enough away, but he was caught red-handed saying, "I'm not entitled to
What,
this,
the
but I
ketchup?
should be." Oh, very good.
Susan, beware of the devil.
What it said was the way he was caught was that another policeman heard him say that he didn't quite qualify and reported him. I thought he'll do well when he that bloke.
he say?
He's chosen his job very wisely, that bloke who did that, the bloke who stitched him up. He just got copper written all the way through him in granite.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were talking about the rookie policeman who, I mean, I don't like to call this theft. He basically ate free breakfast that he wasn't entitled to. I suppose
7.
it's theft. 7 of them, but even so, it's not quite. It doesn't. They'd have probably been thrown away if he hadn't have eaten them. But he could have paid for them. You're right.
Well, I think we're getting an insight into your integrity.
I feel a bit sorry for him. The old saying that it takes a thief to catch a thief. He could have been a chap that was worth holding on to. I would have thought. I mean, he's been banned from ever applying for any job in any British police force for his whole life.
Who's going to be the first to say it's PC gone mad?
That's really very fine. It was you, Em.
Oh, excellent. Oh, lovely. I would just like to point out what he actually said. I'm less sympathetic, unsurprisingly. It's like on The Chase. I'm the one they really dread getting, aren't I? I'm the horrible
You're the
one of the
Duchess.
Trinity.
Is it the Duchess?
Yeah.
Is that what she's called?
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on.
What he actually said was, or what was overheard, was him saying, "I'm not really entitled to this, but I should be. I live just outside the boundary."
Or inside,
So-
presumably.
Yeah. He meant but he said outside because I presume he meant the boundary through which you're allowed to claim it. But you know what? I didn't like that. I thought that was harsh. But on the other hand, Frank, I mean, it is a bit, if you tell one lie, you have to question all truths. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll
What
put
you
it to
think
you.
if he's the sort of man who would turn his blind eye to a stolen breakfast, he might turn a blind eye to human trafficking? Is that what you're getting at?
That sort of thing.
Quite.
Yeah.
It's very
I think
scalable,
that's-
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that necessarily follows. I think I could live with having a breakfast that I didn't totally qualify for. It just feels like food already exists, so we might as well eat it.
But not 7
know what I mean.
consecutively when you're.
Oh,
Surely.
well, that's the trouble, isn't it? Because it's one
I
of
got
those.
the
that
7.
Yeah.
I used to work at a furniture factory, and there was a bloke that used to steal furniture every week. And
He sounds nice.
I said, "How much furniture do you need?" And he said, "The thing is, I know now. I've realised in recent times that I will only stop when I get caught." And
Wow.
he was on the slide. He was going, and he just couldn't. He knew he would never have the willpower because he'd always been nagging at him that he could have had one more poof. Could have got away
Yes.
with one more poof, but
It's
I
something
think this
we've all
chap's
thought.
probably fallen into the same. I'll tell you what shocked me about it: the fact that policemen eat fry-ups at all. Because I remember once having in my drinking days, I was about 19, and I had a conversation with a policeman in the street who told me that what he ate for breakfast was people like me. I can still remember his tone as I eat people like you for breakfast, son. I mean, it was, I was frightened.
He did
when you're a drunkard, you have a sort of a hotline to the police. I used to speak to the police in the street 4 or 5 times a week. I never speak to the police now unless something, awful has happened. But then we were out at the same time, in similar areas. So you get to know them quite well. I feel for this guy personally, but
he said he wanted to build a rapport with colleagues,
And the chief constable charmingly said, "I consider this nonsense."
Yeah, well, he said he could have paid and still built a rapport, but you don't want to be the one who's paid, dear. And it'd be like when the tropical bird escapes into the garden and is torn apart by the common sparrows.
Oh, God.
It's a bit like that.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
I'm still hungry for outside world reader contributions. Give me more.
Well, you mooted a week or so ago that you'd be interested to know what cardboard cutouts people had in their lives. And
Yes, I was
forgot,
saying
actually. That,
you've had one.
Whilst I was a drama student, I had a full-size cardboard cutout of both Stan Laurel and another one of Oliver Hardy. And I think they may still be in the corridors of the Welsh College of Music and Drama.
Oh, they belong to you personally?
They belonged to me, and then I handed them on to a tutor when I was moving.
Oh. I like Frank's acting like they're the Elgin Marbles. They belong to you personally.
Probably as good. But we've had various messages regarding what cardboard cutouts people had. Can
I tell you something, by the way, just while we're on, before we move off Laurel and Hardy?
Sure
I can see them from here. I'm sitting in my bedroom. I don't know if you remember these faces. It's the things your granny used to have on the wall, and they're small faces, not as in Steve Marriott, small like china faces. I think they're made of some sort of pottery anyway. And very realistic, and used to get things like old pirates and men in turbans looking very grizzled and that, so that the artist could do face lines. And I've got Laurel and Hardy in those little heads. Do you know the things I'm talking about? They've sort of...
Yeah, those are ceramic, yeah.
They're a little before your time, I know, but they were fabulously detailed heads. I must go on eBay. I bet there's all sorts available. I quite fancy mid-80s Bolivian peasant woman. I think...
well, we know that, but what about the decor?
Yeah, that's one where the facial line artists can really go
Frank,
to
imagine
town.
going to a dating agency. I mean, you're all loved up, but in your earlier days, and that's what you are. Got any types? What's your type, Frank?
Yeah, it's definitely that now. That's my new catchment area.
Medieval peasant woman.
No, I'm Bolivian.
Yeah.
Oh, Bolivian.
Yeah.
Well, Will Palmer has texted or tweeted us, "I had a life-size Darth Vader that breathed whenever you went near it.
Wow.
I took the batteries out when it went off in the night. That would have been startling. You don't want to hear heavy breathing in the night, do you?
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Oh dear.
Also, it just struck me that breathe really feels like it should be broth in the past tense.
Oh, interesting.
I think English grammar missed a bit of a
Well, there's obviously a bit of
Might have done too much
there's a few
homeschooling.
there's a few of those Star Wars ones knocking around, because Joel Levy simply says Chewbacca discovered in a loft of a rental property.
That'd be a great headline in a local newspaper. That's a good one, Chewbacca, because you get more bang for your buck, of course, because he's about 7 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chewbacca.
That's a good
That's a lot of
discovery.
cardboard. You'd probably get an extra strut out of it to keep the head erect, I would have thought. I'm looking at my Dalek now. I've got a cardboard life-size Dalek.
We've had
and
a few...
I had John Wayne as well, those who didn't hear it last week.
Yes, we had someone else. Their mother had John Wayne. And we also had...
It's always a good gossip, good family gossip. Don't start me on Acker Bilk. Carry on.
We've also had Kevin Keegan wearing a suit with flares, wide lapels and a kipper tie. This is from Dave Waddell.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to say, and Kevin says he had a cardboard cutout.
No.
Of Bill Shankly.
No, nicked it from Burton's en route to an England game at Wembley, smuggled it into the stadium where it was hoisted aloft. Stewards waded in and attempted to confiscate it. Poor Kevin was destroyed in the melee.
Oh, man. What, so that could only happen in one very distinct era, and it did.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show because I'm afraid we're not live, so I don't want you wasting your money. You can, however, contact us at Frank on the radio through Twitter and... what's it called? What's the other one? Instagram, that's it. Or you can email us through the Absolute Radio website. I thought I'd learned it off by heart. I was fooling myself. Wow. Okay, I'll tell you what I did this week. It's always dangerous to share something that you love with someone else. You know, like when you... I remember watching... Man with Two Brains, the Steve Martin film, a film I'd always loved, and I watched it with Kath, my partner, who'd never seen it, and I was saying, oh man, you will love, it's the funniest film. And because she clearly wasn't finding it funny, I stopped finding it funny as well, and it was terrible. At the end of it, not only was she sort of disgruntled that I'd led her in to do something that was a waste of 90 minutes, but... I felt I'd lost something. I didn't want to go back to that film. I wanted to remember it as funny as it was. I had not quite the same experience, but this week, my 7-year-old, who's actually 8 today, so my 8-year-old, although he was 7 then.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, boss.
Happy birthday, Buzz.
We had a bit of spare telly time, and I said, I'll show you a programme I think you'll love. If you like Harry Potter, I think this is right up your street. So I checked on, not Catch Up, On Demand, and they'd got all 5 series of Merlin.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, oh, man, just think of it. I legitimately can watch all 5 series of Merlin again.
Yeah.
And it'll be an act of kind, yeah. So we watched, I would say, 7 minutes of it before he said quite boldly, I don't like this. I don't like this. And we ended up watching Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties instead. And
I'm with Buzz.
Oh man, I'm still slightly shaken from it. I was so... There's magic early on. I thought, I hope there's not a big... I can't remember the first episode. I hope there's not like a lot of talking about, medieval politics and all that. And then the magic comes 25 minutes in. But the magic was almost like within the first 3 minutes, and I thought, great, got him.
No.
But you've got Doctor Who, Frank.
Cartoon cat eating
imagine...
lasagna.
He doesn't. He finds Doctor Who too scary.
Oh, does he?
I haven't tried him on Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting.
Oh, we need to discuss Bob Ross.
In case you don't know, I was talking about Bob Ross. Oh, are they? This was a thing I discovered recently in which a man more or less paints exactly the same painting every week. And there's been, I think, 311 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Bob Ross news? I mean, he's no longer with us, Bob Ross. So.
Greer Riddell, I'm going to say, who's one of our regulars. Hello, Greer. She forwarded us a link to a YouTube clip which has a video. She said you should have a quick watch of this about Bob Ross from The Joy of Painting. It's about the company set up for his fans in West Virginia and why you can't buy any Bob Ross paintings. I've watched this. It's absolutely brilliant. I forwarded it to you two. Did you watch it? No.
I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't
must
seen it
admit.
yet.
Well,
But
I
surely
am.
Frank Skinner can buy it. He owns George Formby's prayer book. Surely he can buy a Bob Ross painting if he
It's
wants.
never occurred to me that one of the offshoots of Bob Ross doing all these paintings was that he could sell them, of course. But now you're telling me he can't.
He didn't. I mean, I don't actually want to give it away because it's so good. Please do check it out. It's
I
absolutely
feel
brilliant.
bad for our readers, though, that are on the edge
Oh,
of
yeah.
their...
Well, essentially, I
On the
mean, do
edge
you
of
want me
their
to tell you
beds.
what happened? I'm going to think about it because
Go
I don't.
on.
They ended up. A lot of them have now ended up in the Smithsonian, and
No.
Bob Ross had
What?
said at one point, "I will not be the sort of painter that will ever be exhibited in a gallery."
No,
And
he was
very
right.
wrong.
Well, I think if he'd used the phrase "shouldn't be," then he would have actually been had it on the nose, Bob Ross.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
That was Bobby Rydell with My Teenage Misunderstanding. It wasn't, but I don't know what song it was, so I'm just going to say anything. I don't think there is a song called that by Bobby Rydell, but there should be. There should be.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bob Ross of
Of course
The Joy
we
of
are in
Painting.
2020
course.
on
Yeah.
Absolute Radio.
You should check him out. He's on BBC4 and Vice.
They're very
TV.
Moorish. Very Moorish.
Well, that's what people used to say about Othello. But I found I watched about 7 Bob Rosses, and I just can't watch the same painting happening again and again. So
Well,
he's lost me, Bob.
We've had other Bob Ross information coming in. Hathers74 at Hathers74 has said, "Hi Frank and team. Did you know Bob Ross still has merch? My friend received a mug for a Secret Santa a couple of years ago.
What with one
She
of
watched
Bob's
him.
obscene jokes on it?
She watched him before his recent resurgence. I like the fact that
Yes.
she's sort of giving her some kudos. You know, like when
Yeah.
people say, "Oh yeah, I was into REM before anybody
Yeah.
else."
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I was an early adopter of the Smiths. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I was
Bob
watching
Ross.
Bob Ross back in Series 8.
Before he'd even wet his brushes.
I mean, I
Yeah.
know we were laughing at the concept of Frank Skinner tunics, but the Bob Ross merch, for pity's sake.
I imagine that mug is one that I wouldn't drink tea out of. I'd just use for my brushes.
Oh.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. What he should have done, he's got an enormous sort of afro.
Yeah.
In
Sort of
the
bouffant.
days when white people still did that, and what he should have done, you know, those sponges that you use to lean on when you're painting. Have you seen them, like a sponge
Oh,
on a
yes.
stick?
Yes.
He could have bought out a figure of him, and his hair could have been the thing that you leaned on the canvas. Again, I always think I'd be good at people's merchandise. I never had the Bob Ross meeting, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Ralph Breaks the Internet
Oh yeah.
this week. Do you know it?
No.
I do know a bit.
It's
I
the
don't.
sequel to do you know Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I have to say, Wreck-It Ralph is a film about an old computer game character. I've never found out, and I could look it up, but I haven't, whether Wreck-It Ralph actually was an old computer game character, or if they've, like in Toy Story, they've just created a world where he was. I don't know the answer. I'd love to know. Please let us know. But anyway, in this film, he was doing a series of YouTube videos in order to become a sort of a YouTube sensation, Wreck-It Ralph. And they're all varied. He tries every type of method to become popular. And one of them, it's only up for like 4 or 5 seconds. It's him doing Bob Ross. It seems suddenly he's got the afro. He's talking in that kind of voice. And of course, I wouldn't have got that. It would have been fine because I would have just thought, oh, that's him doing a sort of home painting thing. But obviously, it was a richer experience
That's
getting
a
the
very
whole
niche joke for a...
Yeah, for a,
Well,
for
I
a
suppose
kids.
maybe he was more part of the culture, so that, you know, there's a famous artist in every... Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Let's get off that subject, Frank, come on.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Bob Ross cropping up as a cultural reference in a kids' cartoon. Really good. I'm looking forward to now the breakfast stealing copper being in the next Shrek movie.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Now, people, I must say, actually, it has been quite a thin week for non-virus-related news. But did you see the story about the woman's banana that turned black after 9 weeks? This woman, essentially, she left a banana in her drawer, in her office drawer at work. And she tweeted about it, saying, look, I'm just very worried about this banana and what's happened to it because I left it in the drawer. And then she drove into work. She had such anxiety about it to discover what condition it was in after 9 weeks. I mean, I don't know if she's allowed.
Can I say, I don't know if you're allowed. Would that be classified? So I don't think she went to work as such, did she? It was a banana mission.
She was going in specifically to get the banana. I feel Alan would be the closest to the crime desk correspondent.
I think she should be allowed to do that. I think that should be considered an essential journey, because she could say, look, there's decomposing fruit here. It's going to stink. And therefore, there's not a jury in the land that would imprison her for that. Surely they'd go, well, that is an essential journey, because that would really reek.
I think the danger is anyone who's watched a lot of sci-fi, that banana could have grown and infested the desk, and it could have become animate, as sort of a bacteria banana creature.
I suppose you could have put that forward as supporting evidence. For...
When you say anyone who's watched a lot of sci-fi, you mean you?
Yeah, no, there's more than me, really. I did a thing now, which I got in my car, and I thought I'll just turn the engine over a bit. Remember people used to say that? I'm driven for it. I'm just going to turn the engine over. Yeah. And I did it, and a sign, nowadays your dashboard tells you stuff all the time. Yeah. And it said to me, running the engine while stationary will drain the battery. I think it used the word, because I remember being shaken by this. It used the word merely, and I thought, that's quite a thing from a sort of a robot comment. Anyway, so it turns out you have to move the car. You have to drive it about to charge
around the block or something.
So I did something I don't think I've ever done in my entire life.
What'd you do?
I went, here come the inverted commas, for a drive.
Oh.
You know when people say, I just went for a drive?
What a pleasure.
I've never gone for a drive. I've always been going somewhere. But I went for a drive, and I listened to T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland twice.
How
did
lovely.
you really? That's quite a long drive then.
Read by T.S. Eliot. Well, I thought it's going to need a good 40 minutes to get the battery.
I loved you went for a drive. Who was it who used to do that? Was it Carnu, the Arsenal player? Didn't he do it?
I think
he
they
was
said
depressed.
He was lonely when he first came to London, and he used
to
go on long drives.
But during lockdown, you need to move your tyres, because otherwise they can level. I've returned to my role as motoring correspondent. I'm afraid.
But I did feel, I was thinking, I don't know if I should be doing this. I can't, where is the list of whether this is allowed? Because there must be lots of people whose batteries are flattening during lockdown. Of course, this weekend, they'll all be off to local beauty spots. But, I was, so I don't know, I think the rotten banana journey, I think you'd have problems making that stick in court. Not the rotten banana, obviously, which would stick. That would stick to anything, I would have thought.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
I was talking previously about going for a drive in order to charge my car battery and whether that was within the government guidelines. I think one thing that occurred to me, if a policeman stopped me, I thought I would say that we are allowed to go out. This was, before they've slackened off a bit. We're allowed to go out for an hour a day for exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And as Formula One is classified as a sport, then I could argue that driving was exercise.
That's very good, actually.
Yeah, your feet on the pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been worth a try, certainly.
Well, the woman with the banana that we were talking about, whose banana turned black after 9 weeks, and she went to the office to retrieve it, the office in Glasgow. I mean, what I would say, did you see the condition of the banana then? It was pretty shriveled.
Well, I've had virtually exactly the same experience with a banana, in that I left a banana. I didn't realise I'd left
Careful,
it quite
everyone.
like this. But
Imagine if I said that.
I left a banana in an office I was writing at, and then I went away on holiday, and it occurred to me that I'd left the banana. But what I didn't realise when I went back to the office, it was a book. I'd used it as a bookmark.
The banana.
I had. You know, sometimes you're reading a book and you put it, instead of getting a proper bookmark, you just stick a pen
banana
in it. Also. So I put a banana.
Yes, a pen, but never a banana.
Well, there was a banana on the desk. I imagined it would just be there for for a day or so.
Actually, you're right. I was just looking at my bookshelves now, and there's a pineapple in a copy of The Christmas Carol.
Well,
we all use
big,
fruit
Frank.
as a bookmark, don't we?
yeah.
What
Well,
else do you put in there as a
this was.
bookmark?
If it was Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, I can't remember if it's set in any sort of banana-based places. I don't recall. Anyway, it was black. It hadn't rotted. I thought it would. I thought it would have rotted. I didn't. If I'd known it was in the book, if I'd remembered that, I'd have been anxious that the whole book would have been destroyed. But it had gone black, the banana, but it didn't have it was just hard. It didn't feel like you could pick it up. It looked, when I first saw it, I thought one of the commas in the book had been injected with some sort of growth serum.
Anabolic steroids.
Yeah, just one comma had dominated the whole book,
Was it
in
sort
Hemingway
of-
as well, and the mask of the short sentence. Deeply ironic.
Was it a sort of Piltdown Man consistency?
It was
some
hard.
Oh.
Yeah, it was hard, and I mean jet black. Not like you get black bits on a banana that they've still got a reminiscence of the original yellow. This was as black as the stopwatch background on an iPhone.
Oh, lovely.
I'm just looking
Do you
at that now.
know? I seem to remember Tony Blair used to eat black bananas. There was a story years ago that came out about him saying he specifically liked black bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, this story really made me feel middle class because I saw it and thought, oh, I do like those sun-dried bananas from Holland and Barrett. And then I thought, this is the most middle class I've ever felt.
Okay, look, I'm going to leave you on a question, a cliffhanger question, and then we'll come back with this. Favourite banana-based fact? Stick around.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So we were talking about favourite banana facts sort of thing that I know we all discuss. But mine is, and this is slightly, we used to talk about big moments on this show where people say stuff as if it's an amazing fact and everyone knows it. But my favourite banana one is that a banana is officially... do you know what it's classified as officially? What kind of fruit?
Oh, I don't actually.
Okay, Al?
Is it a
Any
seed or something like that?
It's a berry.
Oh,
I mean,
It's
that
not.
can't be right, can it? That's like the old tomato is a fruit thing. Yuck.
It's got no
Yeah.
business being a berry.
Tomatoes, you know that. Oh man, tomatoes just like red. If someone got tap water, dyed it red and rolled it into a ball, that's a tomato. It's a fruit. It's a rubbish fruit. But a banana is a berry. I love that fact. What's your favourite banana fact? Let us know by email. We'll talk about it next week. You guys got any?
looking forward to that.
Well, I've got my Tony Blair one, which I've just told you.
Yeah, that is a good one. The
But I
black
would
one.
say, I think the reasoning behind that, do you remember he went through what I'm calling his crystals phase due to there were some
Did
external
he?
influences? Do you remember that? And I think it's because the riper the banana, obviously, the blacker it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was the intense sugar high, the energy release he was after. I don't know. Ask him.
Yeah, but the problem is, if I remember rightly, the bananas, as they ripen, they produce some terrible gas that makes the other fruit ripen
right.
too quickly and decay, which
That's
I'm
right,
not saying
Swift.
anything about sherry booze, but because one thing I've struggled with during lockdown is I had some avocados at the beginning of lockdown. They have yet to ripen.
Oh, you need to put
what
them in
is
a
it
bag
with-
with a banana, don't you?
That's what I'm going to do. It only occurred to me reading this story, remembered the fact that you can it's a sort of a ripening fast track
Yeah,
instrument,
you're
a
right.
banana. So,
By the way,
Good
guys,
info. Sometimes
Yes.
this show's like a civic duty, isn't it?
well, I'll tell you, if there's any filmmakers listening, I mean, like
I
on
doubt
an amateur level, people who like to make, I find if you put a thumbnail into the base of the stalk, there's a tearing of sinew sound that the nail going through the sort of stringiness of the stalk.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
works perfectly if you're doing that bit in a film where somebody sneaks up on the sentry at night and twists their neck and
Oh,
breaks
yeah.
their neck. As a sound effect, the thumbnail into the base of the banana stalk works perfectly in that context.
That's going to be
I'll
very
bear that in
useful
mind.
for someone.
Yeah, maybe my brother-in-law can use that in his next.
I think his response would be, "No, you're all right."
That's the level he's working at, definitely, doing his own sound effects.
Well, but the world's different now. We've kind of come back to a sort of pre-industrial society.
You're right. You're right.
And who knows how that'll affect the cinema in general. No one will be able to go to the cinema anyway, so what's the point of making the damn things? That's what we're all wondering.
Don't tell him
Anyway, look, good luck to everyone. And don't forget our to email us the best thing you've ever used as a bookmark. Keep it clean, please. Thank you so much for listening to us, albeit remotely and not live. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now, stay in unless you need to go out. And then if you go out, be aware. Oh, it's not going to work, is it?
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.